We have the ability to hear, yet we are constantly terrified to. Hearing is diving headfirst into truth. The Search for the Force by Jacob Ben Bersawi. Are we masters of our own fates? No, absolutely not. The whole extent of our powers is unknown to us. Can we correct our existing condition of affairs? Absolutely. But how exactly? By paying more attention to the details of daily life. Writer and magician Carlos Castaneda unlocked the mysteries of the ancient Toltec Indians' teachings for modern culture, and he left behind a three-step technique of continual awareness he dubbed magical attention. A person following this technique is able to release his inner potential and begin to live in full consciousness and in line with his destiny. Carlos Castaneda did not publish publications in which he exposed the technique of awareness to the general public. Instead, he taught anthropology students at Yale University for 10 days. There are 3 parts to this method of enhancing awareness and perception: paying attention to one's internal condition, being mindful in one's actions, and being mindful while listening. It's important to distinguish between realization and awareness, as both have important but distinct meanings. Castaneda argues that the former is a one-time event, while the latter is an ongoing process that takes place in the present moment. So, let us not tarry any longer and move on to explaining the magical concentration technique. Being aware of yourself is the first step. At this point, it's important to tune in to your physical, emotional, and mental experiences and provide a detailed account of how you're feeling. You must give a thorough description of the 3 stages and their variations, and more importantly, you must be completely honest about how you feel right now. To do this, one must concentrate on the present moment without thinking about anything else or letting their emotions get the better of them. Castaneda advised against continuing with this practice if any emotional ups and downs or significant feelings occurred. This is not our regular everyday condition. Therefore, either what you are feeling is a deception or a delusion, or your power is too near to you and you risk being trapped by it. Basically, you shouldn't have any out-of-the-ordinary or mysterious experiences, but rather ones that demand your whole focus and precision. Keep an eye on how the person is feeling mentally and physically. To bring the mind back to equilibrium and tranquility after an emotional outburst or instability is taxing on the neurological system and requires an additional expenditure of power and energy. The 20th century magician and philosopher Manly Palmer Hall contended that the strength and vitality a person uses in his everyday life is likewise put to use in his pursuit of esoteric wisdom. Therefore, a person's capacity to draw upon internal resources for discovering his or her genuine nature and character improves the more stress and high emotional states he or she encounters on a regular basis. The Taoist monk is a living manifestation of the philosophy that emphasizes energy conservation in daily life and its subsequent application to the pursuit of enlightenment. To achieve this goal, one must live a life of abstinence and forego all except the bare necessities. This is how Taoist monks are able to live long, healthy lives and pass away at ripe old ages. The foundation of this method is not the cultivation of new skills, but rather the removal of any burdens that dull a person's sensitivity and prevent him from seeing himself as he truly is. This is why displays of extreme emotion reveal the practitioner's lack of readiness for the task of magical focus. In order to successfully implement the awareness techniques Carlos Castaneda disclosed at the private class, one must first become self-aware and stabilize his physical, emotional, and mental states. There are 3 fundamental principles that govern daily life and are essential for the preservation of one's vigor and vitality. First, there is the rule of order of the body, which entails healthy eating and avoiding toxins like alcohol, nicotine, and narcotics. In addition to this, the practitioner looking for order in life must acquire a love of physical activities and an active lifestyle. Second, the law of order of thought, which rests on a practitioner's academic and self-education, widening one's horizons and being critical of the ideas that enter one's mind, as well as one's own surroundings. One's peers should encourage rather than discourage one. Finally, the rule of 3 assertions: I've gone to the wrong location, done the wrong thing, or given in to temptation. The practitioner should reevaluate his perspective on the proper application of his inner resource. If any one of these 3 propositions rings true at any given time and in any particular set of circumstances, actionable awareness is the second component of the magical attention method. To begin the second step of the practice, it is necessary to comprehend the meaning of a very crucial concept presented by Carlos Castaneda: awareness. Alertness is the state of being aware of and responsive to both internal and external changes. Being alert is being ready to take immediate action. However, awareness is not the same thing as tension. Rather, it is more akin to the grace with which a tiger moves. A tiger is calm and collected under pressure, but it is always prepared to pounce and deliver a decisive blow with a single flawless motion, a state of heightened awareness that allows one to recognize the interconnectedness of all things and act accordingly. The ability to draw parallels is a byproduct of this perspective. The ability to compare is a decisive factor in the outcome of every conflict. The appropriate frame of mind may infuse any action with significance and force, and here is where awareness and action come in. According to Castaneda, each human activity is a magical act, which must be committed in a condition of complete consciousness. Action readiness is a function of one's physical condition. Mental and emotional condition is one of tranquility and subdued contentment. When you're in a condition of mental free flow, ideas just come pouring out of your mind. A few remarks on understated happiness are warranted here. The Toltecs taught that a person living his own life should experience a condition of calm and serene delight rather than one of infantilization or passionate rapture. Don Juan, a Yaqui Indian and Castaneda's tutor, once stated that there are 1,000,000 roads in the world, and they all lead nowhere, but only one of them actually cares. It's the best option available. According to the Slavic alphabet, the word for happiness is a combination of the 2 meanings for pure light, Ra, and sufficient, dust. Nagualism, an ancient philosophical school to which Carlos Castaneda adhered, posits that Earth is a sentient creature that, like a human, undergoes a process of spiritual growth. The Egyptians' hidden knowledge suggested that, like a human, Earth possesses a spiritual heart, which they referred to as Ra. If you're feeling calm and happy, it's because pure spiritual light is flooding your heart from the Earth's spiritual core. Peace and contentment are signs that one has taken the spiritual path of the heart and is in tune with the Earth's rhythms, in the form of a spirit. Silent, profound happiness is the only reliable barometer of progress toward one's goals and the fulfillment of one's destiny. According to Eastern philosophical traditions, true joy is a consequence of sincerity and ambition of the practice to rejoin and realize oneself as a part of the common human family, sharing with it its developmental path and striving continually for its good. Without such goals, it is impossible to become really selfless and enlightened. The next step in training your magical focus is to concentrate on what you hear. Carlos Castaneda argues that people are not good listeners. He has a limited range of hearing and recognition, and his listening is always shallow. Fear, as Castaneda explained, is what drives people to focus just on the surface. According to Toltec doctrine, a human being can use one of 3 types of focus: tonal, nagual, or third. Write in the comments if you'd want us to expound on the topic of Carlos Castaneda's 3 attentions in his novels. Tonal, also known as first attention, or the known world, is the state of mind in which a fully grown adult spends the most of his waking hours. Nagual, which may be translated as second, attention, unknown, or hidden in English, is the aspect of human consciousness that is obscured by the tonal, but which has access to and can make use of all of man's latent, inner capabilities. Don Juan claims that the Nagual's tone has been suited to it ever since he was a child. It acts as if it does not see it or care that it is there. That is to say, in daily life, a person rarely, if ever, draws upon his inner energies and reserves as a magical entity, instead railing solely on the tonal that can keep him afloat. The dread of hearing the reality of our inner being, the reality of Nagual, may be communicating to us via the others causes us to listen to them superficially and not intently, as stated by Castaneda. Tonal strives to become the dominant human consciousness by all means necessary. As a result, he employs every means at his disposal in an effort to disentangle man from Nagual. When we listen attentively, we take the other person seriously, allowing him or her to enter and settle comfortably into our own universe. Contact with Nagual is necessary for true hearing. Tina is terrified at even the thought of making such touch. Another nugget of information like this is concealed here. According to Eastern thought, the ultimate purpose of a human life is to serve others and advance the human condition as a whole. That can't happen unless we learn to truly hear the other person and feel their suffering alongside our own. Some religious groups advocate for compassionate behavior as a means to this end. Conversely, mindfulness and listening are based on empathy, with the practitioner learning by experiencing the truth that is brought to him via the words and suffering of his interlocutor. A theological category of tonal, sold off as a tool of understanding of the world. Shared suffering is an illusory disclosure in it that leads one nowhere. Empathy is a discussion of hearts via feelings, a discourse of Nagual addressing the deep inner essence of man. Because Nagual is experienced only by the human senses, as opposed to the emotional upheavals associated with tonal, the practice of magical concentration arouses profound sentiments in man. As a result, the third stage of the magical attention approach involves using listening awareness to tap into human intuition, which deals with the unknown categories. Intuition, according to Rosicrucians, is the key to unlocking one's inner self, which lies beyond the realms of both the known and the unknown. Paying attention to one's own inner voice is another tricky aspect of listening attentively. One of the surest ways to lead a miserable existence is to ignore one's inner voice. Man, according to Castaneda, does not know how to lose, regardless of the severity of the situation. Instead, man gives up and surrenders instantly. The route that has the heart will always lead to success if we listen to our inner voice and act accordingly. Inspiration and the will to create for the greater good of humanity are signs that you are capable of practicing mindfulness and listening. Magical concentration is a simple method for improving focus and accessing latent capabilities. This method relies first on a level-headed and realistic outlook on life, then on restraint and frugality, and ultimately on composure and focus. Paying attention to one's internal condition, being mindful while performing an action, and being present while listening are the three components that make up the magical attention technique. Carlos Castaneda's revelation of magical attention proves that his work is not a teaching based on the effects of hallucinogenic substances, but rather a doorway in a jar to the places, philosophy, and knowledge of the centuries. Similarly to what a lot of people think, the ancients of this mysterious realm passed on the secret of unlocking one's true essence, the discipline of mindfulness.